Hello,
Hi.
everybody.
Hello.
How is everyone doing? So we're going to be talking about the Crown of Gilded Bones today. This is the third book for our From Blood and Ash and Shadow and Ember, right? Read along. We're doing both series. And Tori is not feeling well at the moment, so she's not going to be here today, but she'll be here at the next one. But yeah, so we read the third one and we're going to talk about it and get into all the nitty gritty and our thoughts and our opinions on everything that did or did not happen in this book. Jess, you want to introduce yourself for anyone that might not know you or your channel? I need to make sure I have you guys linked down below. I don't know if I do, but I will make sure I do, like, when we get off.
It's all good. All right. I am Jess from Honest Fiction, mostly read fantasy romance and like dark contemporary romance. This was a reread for me. I will say I think I kept it at the same 3.5 stars. So like it was good. It wasn't amazing.
Yeah. And
so what about you? What was your previous score and your like current score? And then obviously like introduce yourself too. But
yeah. So, well, hi, I'm Isa from the channel Fun Fantasy Books. I mainly read fantasy books. I do tons of recommendations, top tier list, that kind of stuff. And eventually I do some recaps, summarizing kind of books so that you can skip the reread. But in this case, I guess this is a great book. It has so many good things, but at the same time, there's so many things that not necessarily worked for me. So I'm still kind of like not as enjoying this as much as I did the first time, sadly. And for me, this was also a 3.5, I guess. What about you, Hannah? Tell us, as a newbie in this world, tell us.
Okay, so this is the first time reading this book. And just for reference, the last book I gave 5 stars. I'm giving this 2 stars.
2?
Worse than I thought it was going to be.
I'm giving it 2 stars. I was extremely disappointed by the whole thing for many reasons. I was unhappy with the first half more. Like, it would have been a 1 star. But the second half was a little bit better. But I then was also like not super pleased with how at least like things got like faster pace, but then like how things played out, I thought there was issues. So yeah, 2 stars, unfortunately. I'm trying to get to my little like notes here. So
I really thought you were gonna like this a little bit more than me, at least. Like not than your previous book, but at least a little bit more than me.
I feel like the ending of this one almost like makes up for the slower pacing. So yeah, that's why I rated it a little bit higher, because there's so many reveals at the end of this book.
And then I think for Tori, it's her favorite book in the series, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of her favorites.
So if she was on here, I would assume she would have given it 5 stars. I don't want to speak for her, so I don't know for sure, but if it's like her favorite book, then I'm guessing. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to discuss Crown of Gilded Bones, my favorite book in the series so far. So we've got a lot of people here, or at least Tori and some people that really enjoyed it. Hello. Hey, Kristen. I haven't read the series, but I love hearing people talk about it. Well, we're going to get into some spoilers, but I'll try to like let everyone know when I do, like when we do get into spoilers. I think I have like a thing up here. Yeah, I'll put the banner up when we decide to go more into spoilers, so that if you want to stay, you can stay. If not, though it's the third book, so really everything kind of is.
Yeah,
honestly,
I was just thinking that. Like,
I was like, wait a second, like it's the third book though. So I guess we're at spoilers.
I can just stay up the whole live. It's fine.
Huh?
I said that can just stay up for the whole live.
Right. Yeah, I guess. So I guess the first thing is when we started off in the book, we had ended the last book with this huge like reveal. Everyone was like bowing to Poppy and saying like, oh, the new queen or whatever. And so we start this one. And I know this was your guys' second time reading this, but were you, I guess, not surprised by like everything went down and then all of a sudden they Castile decided to basically try to lock up Alistair. Like, were you guys initially surprised by that? And like, what did you think of it the second time you read it?
I honestly forgot. So actually, I think this happens right after that, where there's like the poison arrows. I completely forgot that happens. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, do we save them? Because they seem to be dead at that point. But like, so yeah, I wasn't surprised about the Alistair thing because obviously I read the book already, but there were like moments in this that I completely forgot about.
Yeah, same for me. The first time I believe that from the beginning, Alistair was bad news. So I was never really surprised about everything that came down afterwards. But yeah, there were parts, especially the beginning, that I was like, what? No, it is new. But yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like, so the thing is, I was thinking it the whole time that there was something weird with Alistair, but I was almost, because I don't know, I was almost surprised that Castile like did something about it immediately, like that he like kind of put two and two together so quickly. That kind of surprised me. I don't know why, like not that I think he's dumb or anything like that, but like I was kind of surprised that he put two and two together so quickly. But so, and then not to mention, like next we have basically Poppy being taken prisoner.
Yeah.
And that really surprised me because I was thinking this whole time, and I was like, oh, this book's gonna get into the action, like stuff's gonna happen or whatever. And so I was like kind of hyped for it when that happened. I thought like I was feeling kind of good vibes in that first like 100 pages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because I was so surprised because honestly they just got there. And now she's basically heading all the way back, and then she's taken back to like under the Skotos Mountains. And she's like, oh, like she had like 5 minutes there.
Yeah.
That
for me is one of the main things that make this book not being that good. Like how you change from book 2, just being the whole time, just like waiting, right? And it's all about the characters. And then in this book, you will travel to Elysium, to the Scottish Mountain, then go back, then go to Atlantia, then go back to whatever place. And it was everything so fast, like everything. It's so like the next chapter. And for me, that's like I'm not really enjoying as much usually books when plot happens that way, because it's like what happened in that moment might be of importance at some point and I'm missing it. But there was a lot of back and forths in this book, I guess.
Yeah, and it was so weird because then we had like, I'll get into that, the like 200 pages of them just sitting in the bedroom asking questions, but like we'll get into that. What did you guys think about the prophecy? Like, do you guys, I guess you guys know more than I do, but do you, when you first read it, I guess you have theories, and like how do you view it, I guess now after like at least based on the end of this book, how do you feel more about the prophecy? Because I wasn't expecting a prophecy to come into play so late in the series, and that surprised me for sure. What did you guys think about that?
I think, well, first of all, I remember when I was reading this, I don't believe the second book was supposed to end where it ended. So I think the second book and the third book were kind of like combined. And then I think J-Law kind of realized that she could like make a prequel series and like really expand the world. And I feel like that's kind of like messed up like the pacing and everything, or like made the pacing a little bit off. But I remember like trying to figure out that prophecy. I think I have a whole video of just me trying.
Yes, you do.
Unravel, the prophecy. And
I haven't seen it because I would like avoid all the, if I haven't read it, you know, I'll have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, so, but I don't remember what I was thinking is like, now I know the end of the prophecy, but I remember having like a lot of guesses and then being completely off base.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes sense but like the prophecy, at first I was surprised there was a prophecy, and I was like, oh, cool, there's a prophecy. But then like I basically read it and I had like immediately had a theory about it. I texted it to you because like my theory, I was like thinking that the person that's like, I can't remember what they call it, but the bringer of
the harbinger,
was her brother, not her. And obviously by the end of the book, you know that that's not true. It can't really be true because
yeah,
he's dead. So,
yeah.
But that's why I thought at first, because
I
didn't think it would be like her or whatnot. And I feel like the stuff with the prophecy kept changing throughout the book too. I feel like everything that we learned the whole book, literally 20 pages later, someone else would be like, no, that's not it. Like the whole book, every time we got a piece of world building, it then was disputed. And so it gets, after that happens enough times, everything gets so convoluted. It's like, where does that leave us? Like, I have everything now mixed up in my brain because of it. And I'm pretty good about, like, I read epic fantasy too. Like, I read some pretty in-depth stuff sometimes. So I feel like it shouldn't be that confusing.
I feel like the names definitely do not help the situation because you have Malik and you have Malek. You have Ianthe, like you have all, not Ianthe, you have all of these different names super similar. And especially if you're listening, especially if you're listening to it via audio, like it's so hard to keep them straight.
Yeah, agreed. Also for me, the prophecy, it wasn't something, in my opinion, that we needed in this series. Like, I think that we already have a lot with all the elements that are added to the story, like starting with the maiden and then now knowing, I mean, I'm not sure how in detail we want to get into spoilers, although the tag of spoilers there. But
yeah, I already said that at the end of the dude died, so you're good.
Okay, well, like there's a lot of stuff, right? Like added, like primals, there's this arc of getting more powerful, and there's no need, I believe, for a prophecy. It seemed like, in my opinion, like the author wanted to add like a lot of different fantasy tropes, and that somehow it didn't blend it well together. Because in this book, actually, I was super confused. The only thing that I remember, Hannah, answering your question about the prophecy is that I was super confused. Like, I was like, what is this? Why is this mentioned just one time, never repeated? And then, what is happening? What is happening here?
Yeah. And also, like, I felt like just the way everything's gone so far in this series, like, just because it was brought up, I was like, well, is this something I should pay attention to? Because half the time it's going to change what it means anyway later. So, like, I never know what I should be paying attention to or not be paying attention to. But yeah.
I just looked up the prophecy because it's been a while. And I completely missed the fact that all 3 prequel book titles are in the prophecy. Like the second line, it says, a shadow in the ember, a light in the flame, to become a fire in the flesh, which is like the titles of all of the books.
Oh my God.
This is first news to me also.
Oh, good. So it wasn't just me. Yeah, I never put that together. So
I didn't notice that when I read the prophecy, but
yeah. That's interesting.
Yes.
I didn't know there was going to be a TV show. Did you guys?
I did not know there was going to be a TV show. That is news to me.
Same. But
I know there's going to be an Avatar TV show.
What?
I know there's going to be an Avatar TV show.
Exactly.
I know Layla has had a few books be adapted or series be adapted into TV shows. I know the one I watched didn't do a great job. So hopefully, I don't know who picked it up, if it's like HBO, Hulu, or whatnot. I'll look into
I would be interested to watch the adaptation because I honestly think show writers might do a better job of like knowing where it ends and how to get there. They might do a better job of getting from A to B, because I feel like when she started, after reading this book, I feel like she started the series not knowing where B was.
Yeah.
Or how to get there. reading this book, that's what it felt like to me. And like, I didn't feel so much like, and I've heard people say that about the series, and I never felt like that after the first 2 books. But after reading this, I'm like, do you know what you're doing?
Well, I feel like that first book, that was her first jump into fantasy. So I don't think she even knew how well it was going to do because her audience was liking romance. And I think she did paranormal romance, but not like fantasy romance. So then I think as like it gained popularity and she wanted to make it more fantasy, it just kind of went off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, and I can see that by yeah, no, it was not just you.
No.
Oh, good. I think Prime will do a good job if that's who picked it up.
They will probably. Yeah. That's awesome. Learn something new. I'm excited.
Me too.
Because I think that that could be really good. I think this is something that could be adapted and be adapted really well.
Unfortunately, it is necessary. So that's gonna be our next read is A Shadow in the Ember because they are kind of all merging.
Is it Nyktos? Is the
What?
Is Nyktos the guy in the next one?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's actually this one, that one, it's my favorite. So like I get that you don't feel like reading it, but really, I think that the romance, it's way, crafted at least, is better in that sense that there's tension, that there's so many good things.
That's my second favorite too, as well. Like it goes from Blood and Ash and then A Shadow in the Ember. Like the love story is just, it's so good. Like tension and everything. It's great.
Yes. Also the world building, I think it's way more fantasy oriented, but it's like you can tell that the author knows more now of what she wants to do and that she's telling that story, that background story, like with a purpose.
Agreed.
I'm excited for it because like this thing I was like, well, this is now she knows more. Clearly, she figured it out by the end of writing this book, and like I feel like sorry, I'm not trying to bash it, but I'm excited about that. And then, but it's like a new love story, so there's gonna be like tension again. And I'm also excited for the next book in this series. Because
The War of Two Queens.
Yes, because I feel like number one, now Poppy is like badass. Yeah. And number two, we have this separation now between Castile and Poppy. And so things are going to be like maybe some more tension. Now we're driving towards something and more because I felt like there was especially a point after Poppy was changed, which wow. I think I knew that had to happen, but I was surprised by it. But I knew it had to happen. I was like, this is gonna happen. She's gonna get.
I want to see like we can finish this, but then I want to know your reaction to when that happened. That is something that happened in the book that really frustrated me. But go ahead, and then we'll go back.
Because right after that, after she's changed, there was 200 pages of question answer time, sex. Question answer time, sex. Question answer time, sex. Like back and forth for like 200 pages, and I was like, because of the way it was done, the sex was not like hot. I felt like because it was like I don't know, there was no tension buildup to it. It was just like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Okay, but what if that? And what if this happens? And then like she goes into the what ifs in your head for like a page and a half, like of what ifs, and then she asks another question, and it's like, okay, we're gonna go have sex now. Like, what?
I am definitely one of those people that likes it when they're still like enemies, and once they're in the relationship, I start to like lose a little bit of interest when it comes to like the spicier scenes. So
which makes sense because you really like the bully romance, and apparently I do too, which I never thought I did. But apparently I do. Because yeah, once they're together, I'm kind of like, okay, like you got 30 pages to wrap this up.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't love friends to lovers. It's just not my vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. But going back to her being changed, number one, I was really confused and surprised when she got shot because it kind of happened out of nowhere. And I didn't really realize it happened for a second. And then I was like, oh, I guess she got shot. I don't know. And And then I was kind of confused during the process because it sounded like they were saying he didn't need to do anything because she wasn't shot in the heart or something like that. It didn't hit anything vital. Like someone kept saying it didn't hit anything vital or it didn't hit anything vital.
I think they were saying he still had time to perform the ritual because her heart hadn't stopped yet. So
okay.
Yeah, so like had she been dead, like 100%, it wouldn't have worked.
Yes.
Do that whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also got that feeling like this was necessary if he wanted Poppy to leave.
Yeah.
But then the whole like so she's not a vampire or vampire.
No. No.
She's not a vampire. But it's like, okay, well, what is she? And now also through the whole book, like we keep on seeing that different people turn different ways into different things. But like I'm not like, do I need a grid? Do you need to make me like a graph? Like make me like I don't understand like what and what makes what. I would like to know that. Like
so you have gods and then you have the children of the gods, which are like the deities. And I forget what happens versus what we find out. I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but they react differently depending on how much like godly blood they have. So that is why.
Okay, because then there was the queen, and the queen says, "Well, I'm a god too now." And then Nyktos was like, or well, not Nyktos, the Nyktos's dragon person,
Nyktas.
Okay,
yes,
that was that name choice was BS. But he was like, "No, she's not a god." Like right after we realized the queen was a god.
We're talking about Isbeth, right?
Yeah.
Ileana.
Yeah.
Isbeth. So he has been turned by Malek, and as Malek is the son of a god, do we know that?
I don't know.
He's someone powerful. I think we do.
We know that.
Okay.
Yeah. So the son of Nyktos, who is a primal.
And Nyktos has two sons, and apparently, like Poppy is actually
Iris.
Iris or Eris, however you want to say it.
Brother.
So the thing is that as that's the blood that God passed to Isbeth, she is not kind of like a bumper, but she's almost a god. She believes herself to be a god because she has like his blood, like full blood, which is kind of like why Poppy is not also that, because she is a descendant from Nyktos.
But she's like a descendant, so she didn't become a god or deity because of anyone's blood. It was because she was born that way.
Because she has the blood of Nyktos from Iris, her father.
But I'm confused as to why everyone was like, "No, you smell mortal, you smell mortal." And they've been saying like this whole time that no, you've never been mortal. And
I
now
think she smelled old. Didn't they say like she smelled old, like death for a while?
But they also said she smelled mortal. They could tell she was mortal. And after she got changed, they're like, "Now you smell. I can tell because I can smell now that you're not. You're immortal now."
Like, doesn't she also start to go through an ascension though? Also, yeah, and I think that's when her blood also starts to change a little bit. Is like not when Castile does that whole thing, but prior to that, she started to actually have ascended traits.
And isn't also something about being in Atlantean soil? Like I think that when she wasn't there, like all her powers weren't as powerful. And I think that just being in Atlantean soil make her more powerful. But it's a stretch. Like, yes.
Things are so convoluted and not like I don't know how to explain it, where it's like some things get over explained and other things not at all. And there's like contradictions. I feel like some things they seem contradictory.
Well, there's a huge contradiction that annoys me from the second book where I forget what she is, but the lady that's in the carriage goes and says that Isbeth is your grandmother.
Yes.
And in this book, we just changed it to mother and was like, oh, she must have had like bad info. But I feel like that should have been like changed.
Agreed. Yeah. I actually was confused. I was like, no, she must have said that it was her mom. But no,
No,
it was
in the
her
reread
mom.
I checked. Yeah, she definitely says grandmother.
Yeah, because in this book she's like, oh, I thought you
Mm.
said that I was your granddaughter or whatever. Now and she's like, no, you're not my granddaughter, you're my daughter.
Yeah.
I was not at all surprised that she was Isbeth, though. I thought that was like pretty obvious that's who the queen was going to end up having been from when they first told the story about Malik and Isbeth. I don't know when that was, in the first or second book, but when they did, like I remember in my head being like, "Oh, I bet the queen is Isbeth."
I was surprised.
I was surprised too. I don't think I caught on to that. I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting."
Yeah, I mean, I hate that people changes names in her books, but it's like, okay, Isbeth now.
I'm having that trouble with Zodiac Academy too. Like, the two main characters have two different names.
Yeah.
Stop it. I'm on the fourth book and I'm still confused. Which one's Roxy? Everything we learn, we find out it's not true. Yeah.
I agree with Lizelle. The pacing was not great.
You know, I feel like the pacing wasn't great in the second one, but I give it 5 stars because I think more than the pacing issue in this book was the confusion level.
Yeah.
That I was at, and there was 200 pages of just straight info dumping, then sex, then info dump, then sex, and that it was at least more spread out better. The pacing was at least consistent, I felt like, through the last book until obviously the climax. I felt like the pacing was better in that way in the last one, and this one, it was so sporadic, I should say. Sporadic. And then the world building was so confusing that I got a bit, I'm like, okay, listen, if we're going to change and say like, no, it's actually this, then why do we need the first time? Why do we need to waste time with her being told all these other things if they're not going to end up being true?
Yeah, we cannot answer.
This book could have been like 300 pages.
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
Did you guys call, like, at the beginning where we see that Captain Jensen was a shapeshifter and that he...
Oh, no, not at all. I did not call that. Yeah.
And why? What do you guys think about it?
I was kind of very confused and surprised. And the thing is, though, I never felt much connection with that little boy. Like, yeah, because I remember during the last live show you asked me, you said something about Beckham.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, who?
No. Yeah, I remember now.
So for me, I was like, oh, okay. Yet another thing that, like, to me, it was like came out of nowhere. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't know. Some of her reveals in this book, I thought were lackluster. Like, they could have popped more if she had created more of attention to those details. Like, you know, something like Brandon Sanderson's really good with is like hiding in little foreshadowing bits to where when he does a reveal, you remembered that, but you didn't realize how much you remembered those things until he brings them all together. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something she's really bad at. And so that's why I think when the reveal was that, or at least like just personally for me, but that's why I think when that was revealed that he was actually a shapeshifter and that he had taken over Beckett's form, like there was no, oh, wow, or anything for me. I'm just like, okay.
I was sad.
Yeah. Same.
Because we realized that Beckett's been dead for...
Yes.
He died prior to them even getting to Spess's end. So, like, to realize that, I remember being really upset at that part.
Same. Like, a part of me was like, okay, fine. At least he didn't betray them all. But you're dead. So,
You're dead. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there were parts that were really good like that. Or same as we have with Ian's death. Like, it was so abrupt that for me was like, wait, what happened just now? And I went like, no. And I think that was a good section overall in the book. Like there was tension, but there was also the reveal. Still didn't make much sense to me that Poppy was like, okay, now I'm losing it. And then Cass is like, I surrender. And okay, fine, let's go.
Yeah.
Why-
What was
why-
your guys' favorite part of the book? Isa, was that your favorite part?
Which
Let's say your
was-
favorite part was Ian dying. But like,
No.
I think that very last scene where we meet the Blood King and
Head.
Poppy goes to the Revenant and it was like, I need you to send a message and like beheads him or whatever. Like that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts.
And what was your favorite part, Hannah?
I think my favorite part was when she sat down, like when she came back after Castile got kidnapped at the very end, when she sat down with the other queen, with her mother-in-law, that conversation.
Yeah.
I think that conversation was my favorite, when she was just basically like, you bitch. But you know what? The thing about that, though, is then she's like, oh, yeah, basically, like, I knew that you guys were going in to meet a god, and he was my only surviving son that I know of, but I just sent you guys off anyway. Whatever. You know what? I'm still that childish about an ex.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's super weird that still, like, she gets to name her first son Malik after, like, Malik. It's like not healthy. Get over
no,
it.
probably not. I was really upset when I found out she knew the entire time and just kept it from everybody. Like that just seemed
Mean.
not the best plan.
No.
I thought it was a bit unrealistic too, and I was like I was thinking back, because at first I was really upset about the reveal and what it said, and it was basically, wait, so all of this suffering and killing and dying for this long is because we've got two catty bitches fighting over a man.
Yes.
And so I was kind of pissed for a while. And then I was thinking, well, then you think about, like, in history how they talk about, like, men going to war over a woman. So I guess it's been done in the reverse. So, like, thinking about it that way, I was like, okay, I'm less annoyed. But at the same time, I don't think it was, unless it's because they're so old, they just don't care. But I just don't find it to be realistic for a mom to do that. To not prepare them for, like, hey, this isn't just like a vampire that you're going to go meet. This is like a god or whatever. And this is actually this person. And,
Yeah. I mean, I think that I understand Isbeth's point of view, right?
Yeah.
Like not understand, but she thought that Malik and her son were coming back, never did. She changed names and started like ruling. But then I think that when she started taking Castile and then Malik, things get like unavoidable for the Loana, right? So it's like, I'm not sure if they would have been fighting if this wasn't an issue there. Like she taking their sons and exploiting them.
I think too, we see with this series that with age, no matter whether you're a god, I know they're saying this was just gods, but I think no matter if you're a god, deity, ascended, if you are an Atlantean, whatever, I feel like with age comes cray. Like in it, like you just seem the older the people get in the series, I feel like the less they really are in touch with the pain and consequences of their actions.
This is I'm pretty sure it's brought up in A Light or a Shadow in the Ember, where they discuss what happened. Like when gods get too old, they do things just because they do. They start to kind of like lose a sense of right and wrong and everything.
They talked about that some in this book too, but I think it's like everyone, like not just like, because when you look at Castile's parents, like his mom, I'm like, would she have made this decision 200 years ago? I don't know. 300 or 400 years ago or whatever. They're old, right? So, because I was pretty, I don't know, the decisions people make in this book, other than like Poppy, and Poppy's like that too. She's like, why would you do that?
How did you feel about Malik being like Poppy's ascension? Like him actually like working with the queen?
I was shocked. That was one of the few things that shocked me.
Right? Like, I remember being like, really? Like, so confused.
I was shocked, but then I still don't know if Malik's fully on the bad side or whatever. Not that there's really right and wrong at this point. Like, clearly this is just more of like a gray, like shades of gray kind of situation.
Yeah.
Number 50 just popping up in my head. But I don't think that, I don't know, the way he was surprised when the queen killed that one, or didn't actually kill that one, but stabbed that one. Yeah. So I don't know for sure. I think there's like a 5% chance for him.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting it at all. And I was very mad. Like, this time around, I was like, what are you doing? Like, everyone is fighting for you, and you're here just chilling and all for taking Poppy and ruling Atlantia. And no. Yeah.
No.
No.
I think one of my other favorite parts was like the cat in the cage situation, which now we know might be, because who knows if she's going to change her mind again. I don't know. But for now, we think it's her dad. And that I remember thinking, like, because they thought it might be Malik, and I remember they kept bringing up the two cats in the portrait. So I remember thinking, I was like, I had a brief thought at one point, like, well, maybe there, is another son and she's his or whatever. But it kind of like came and went so fast. Like, it wasn't something that I really stuck on in my head. Did you guys, when you guys first read that, did you think anything about that when you saw the cat in the cage?
No, I mean, I was so confused. Like, all that section was so weird to me, because they're like running, trying to meet everyone in secret, this kind of vibe. And then it's like this cat in a cage. And
yeah, she just kind of stops and like has like a moment with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where?
And then it's like, yeah, but then it's like, oh well, this is a man that I might have seen before, but yeah, well, move forward. And it was so weird. It's like, or you take it and help him, or just, don't stop. It was super weird of a scene. So I was like, this is something important. Like, if this is here, like very anticlimactic, something is happening. And then you realize that he is her father. At least things make sense, because I was so confused when I thought that Malik was her dad, which for a brief time I think we believe, right? In this book, it's kind of like led to us. And I was like, but how? Like, if he was entombed, how is Poppy like so old? How is this happening? I was so confused, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to move forward. And then it's like, no, twins. Okay, that makes sense. So, but still, that scene, pretty weird to me.
I thought it was just there to show how horrible the queen was, that she like had these people that she was either like experimenting on, or I thought it was just used just to show how horrible she was. But then it does make way more sense later. But I remember in that scene, I just feel like the pacing of that whole end of the book, so much happens so quickly. It's hard to like keep it all straight.
Yeah. I agree. I love the scene when they were saving Poppy from the dungeon and she's watching Cassian completely disassemble everyone. Yep. That was pretty good. That whole thing though, like, she was kidnapped and then saved so quickly that, and then she ended up right back where she started. I felt like I wasn't sure if it was even fully necessary, other than the prophecy and to show that Alistair like was a full on double agent. I felt like that could have been established in like a conversation without the kidnapping, and that I felt like it was a bit of a, I feel like it could have been done differently. But the scene where he does come in and save, and like even Cassian's dad comes to fight, like, I really liked it at the same time. But just the concept in general.
I think that scene made sense because of the Bones kind of situation. Like, they think that even if she is super powerful, there's still a way to finish her. Like even now that we understand that she's like the line of the primals and that she's the ultimate heir, like if she is entombed or that is happening also to other gods, I think it's a link for us to continue and we get more of that in the prequel.
True. I didn't think about that. That's very true.
I agree with this comment. This is exactly what I thought when I first read it.
What do you think about the Revenants? I feel empathy for them. Yeah. As I feel like they didn't have the choice to be a Revenant. Yeah, it's like someone being turned into like a cyborg. I think there is a love story between Castiel's brother and the Revenant girl. Yeah, I am hoping that there is. That will make me really happy if it's done well. Okay. So I hope that there is. And I definitely agree. I think you could tell, like, she was even saying, like, I think that Poppy was able to sense her emotions some too and tell that she was like kind of conflicted and stuff like that, but she didn't have a choice. And I get that. You know, at the same time, like everyone has a choice. So, but you don't know. We could always find out later, like the queen has like her family held hostage, or, you know, there are a multitude of ways that I've seen in fantasy books that they've shown that someone was forced to do something that most people would say like, oh, well, they always have a choice. Well, sometimes like there could be really things that to them, it's not a choice. So I guess we'll have to find out, but I definitely agree with this. And I liked her, and I feel bad. Like, can you imagine being like killed over and over and over and over again?
I love how Jess is like, yes.
Oh yeah, totally.
100%.
But no, and I think
the HBO show. What was that HBO show? Something World.
Westworld?
Westworld. It's like Westworld, kind of, right?
Yeah.
I think the Revenant, like the fact that she feels the pain every time, I think is absolutely
horrible. It's so long, I didn't even think about it. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like she kind of seemed like she felt some of the pain.
No, she does. The Revenant feel the pain every time they're killed, and I think in Westworld, if I'm remembering, like not so much. Maybe it's been forever since I watched the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying like, oh, don't spoil it.
No.
No, if I did.
No. That's basic.
It's been out so long. I only watched like the first 2 seasons, I think, and then I stopped because like I'm just bad about keeping up with shows. But I liked the idea of the Revenants. At the same time, I was really confused because I was like, why doesn't Poppy just blow them to ash? Like she usually does. Just blow, and then all of a sudden, like the queen's like, yeah, you can't do that with me. I was like, oh, okay.
She tries, doesn't she? Like, doesn't she try to go up against it?
Yes.
And the queen just completely like takes control.
Back to her, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, but now she's got those dragons. Were you guys surprised by the dragons? I wasn't expecting dragons in this series.
I love the dragons.
Me too.
I love dragons. That was like the highlight. Like one of the highlight, that and Poppy going badass at the end. It was like dragons and badass Poppy. Okay, like I have hopes for the next book.
There's a lot of the Draken in the next book. Like you'll get a lot.
And for a certain thing we have it coming up, depending on what team you're on for a certain thing, that could get you, lots of extra points. But yeah, anytime you have the dragons, and I thought that they were done pretty well. Except for I was not happy with the name choice.
Yes. But
seriously.
One of the best scenes, changing topics for me, that I really want to talk about it's when Poppy is crowned, or rather when they give away the crown and like the bones start to crack, and then we see the gilded bones underneath, and the first thing that she does as a queen is like rearranging the emblem so that both she and Castile can be at the same level. I was like,
yeah,
this is better. That when she eventually says that she loves him back, for me was better. Like actions.
I liked it. I liked that a lot. That means more, like that is more enjoyable for me to read about in a love story than like them proclaiming their love over and over and over again. Like I liked more of the action, like you said, like the show me.
Yeah. I actually wasn't really a fan of, like, this time around, of how she get to say him that she loves him, because it's like after she is being fed, which is like, isn't like the bloodlust maybe saying something here? Like, do you feel, we know that she feels that way, right? But it's like you're picking this moment for us as a reader when we know that she's like more attached to that person. So I just felt like not really enjoying that moment as much as this would have come in another moment, not necessarily driven by that bloodlust. I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
I would agree with that. I didn't think about that while I was reading, but that's a really good point. Like, because we've seen before, like in the other books, that really does mess with your thinking, like when
Yes.
you are. So yeah, I agree.
I mean, we know she loves him, but still, like, give us a proper moment to enjoy it.
Right. I didn't really. I remember reading it and being like, haven't they said this already?
Because it was very drawn out. I mean, all of last book was them. I think eventually they're like, this is real, and they accept it that way, but they don't.
True. I guess that, yeah, I just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird the things I'm like, I pay attention to in this series. I don't know what it is. But I hadn't really realized. This is so true. I loved that. I'm like, oh.
I hated it.
Me too.
I got a fan service. It made me so mad.
Same.
I also, is it this book? It might have been the last book where they talk about a casserole. And that was also
confused me.
Huh?
That confused me.
The casserole, where like they like bring that up, because that's also fan service. Because like if you're in the From Blood and Ash group, like that's how they refer to Castile, as casserole. So like the fact that you put a scene dedicated to that like drove me insane.
I was wondering why they're talking about casserole so much.
Yeah, it's like in one specific scene when they're eating, and I was like, oh, I didn't need this to actually be. But
I thought that was a joke, like they were like it was some kind of sexual innuendo joke, and I was like, what is sexual about a casserole? Is this like American Pie? Like,
it's people like in the fandom call Castile. They're like, ooh, casserole. Like that's, I don't know why it started, but it did.
But that's weird that she would put that in the book.
Yeah.
But with the Miss, what's her last name? Willa
Collins.
I've gotten annoyed with the amount of times he keeps bringing up Willa Collins, but now that she's there, then I found it less annoying because it was like more funny, because bringing it up so much, like still I was like, okay, drop it, dude. Like it's like you can't keep telling the same joke over and over and over and over again. But then when she showed up, I personally thought it was funny, and I personally did like that was who was the lady at the Red Pearl. I personally like that, but
yeah. No, I can see that. For me, I really like Willa, but it's like, again, too many coincidences in this book, right? Like everyone is like, oh, you like this book that you picked at random, and then that's the person that it's been here from the beginning, and that's also, it's like it doesn't help to make this book feel more not realistic but better fleshed out. And it's like another coincidence, another element.
True. I guess it didn't bother me, but maybe it's because it was about a sex book, and I was like, yeah, cool.
I mean, I wasn't super upset, but
yeah,
I was super upset. I was annoyed.
Were you?
Nervous, and it made me like, the first time I read this, I was like, are you kidding me? Like that's because I was waiting this whole time to find out who was the woman in the Red Pearl, thinking it was going to be like super crucial to the plot and find out like about another group or like something like that, and then it's like, oh, it was Willa Collins. And yeah.
The only thing that bothered me a little bit, I would say, it's like kind of along those lines, is I was kind of like, when she said her reasoning for going there, I was a little bit annoyed that she's like, oh, I just felt drawn to it. I was like, yeah, that was the only thing that I was like, okay, but I liked it in general though. I enjoyed it. But
yeah.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about, like that I didn't hit? Because I feel like we've just been chatting, and so like I put my list down.
I want to talk about how Poppy's powers progress throughout the book, throughout the series. But I believe that in this book we see her like to the next level. Oh, yeah. So what do you guys think? Like when she brings back to life that woman and all of that.
I'm one of those few people that in my fantasy books, like I know a lot of people like strong, hard magic systems, but I'm one of those people that I like I like a soft magic system. So especially in this, because things I felt like got so weird that now I was just like, I got excited at the end with how all powerful she seemed to become. I'm like, yeah, let's just blow some stuff up, you know? So I was like a fan of it, how powerful she got, but I did like that there was a progression through the book. I was especially surprised with and a bit confused at the beginning when we saw the first progression, which was the healing scene, I think that was, when it sounded like she felt like the person, she even said at one point, like, oh, well, they haven't gone yet. Like, she's still barely alive or whatever. And she's like, yeah, no, I knew that they weren't alive. And I was like, but did you? So that confused me a little bit, but I like where it went eventually, which is basically we don't know what her powers are other than she can do anything that she wants. It seems like.
I think earlier we were doing a really good job of like showing a progression. Like at first she's able to just like taste certain emotions and then slowly be able to heal. And then like I thought the healing power was explained very well, but then towards the end of this, it kind of seems like she's all powerful.
Yeah.
But yet she isn't to certain things, and there really aren't any like defined hard limits and like things like that. Like I think that we need a better job of like fleshing out what she can and can't do, and what other characters can and can't do. And having read the series, I don't think we ever really get that. But yeah, it's not. I don't love that, but I do think parts were done well.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Isa?
No, I mean, I like her arc and the scene where she wakes up this woman, like what wakes up, she brings back to life that woman. It was all powerful to me, like, oh, now she is like really powerful. But then it just seems that she's getting more powerful as each book progresses. Like it's almost progressive magic, right? And I'm like, what's the limit? You know, like it just
Limit
again
does not exist.
yeah, like it's just it feels as okay, if you're also powerful, why in that scene, well, in the end scene, Castile needed to surrender in order for her to get away because she was hurt. Like it's like you're super powerful, but you're not, but I'm not really understanding what are your limits, or if you're like already full growth potential, or if you're already like halfway there and she's gonna be even more powerful. You know,
it also feels like the Blood Queen, if she is as powerful as it seems like she is, why wasn't she able to take over Atlantia? Because it seems like she has a lot of power.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jess. That's a good point. I felt like the reasoning for, like, when I look back at mythology and stuff, often like gods can't really kill other gods. Like that's why they're just always like messing with each other. You know what I'm saying? So I felt this was a play on that. Like she's basically all powerful unless it comes to another god kind of thing. But she's not a god. This, you know, apparently Isabeth is not a god. So that's a little bit confusing because you would think that because Poppy is apparently a god, she should be able to overpower Isabeth. So I assume that has to do with she still needs to hone some of her skills. Isabeth's got at least hundreds of years on her, right?
Elizabeth was also able to put Iris in a cage, and he is a deity, like a full-blooded deity. So, yeah.
We're going to have to see what happens there.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I would assume she's going to have to hone her abilities a little bit more, but my initial assumption was it is that whole classic play on gods, like can't really kill other gods. They just have to like mess with each other. Yeah. So
I'm
interested. I'm definitely even though I gave this a 2 stars, I'm still super intrigued for the next book. Sense. It doesn't have me feeling bad about the series as a whole because I've now given the first book 4 stars, the second book 5 stars, and now this one 2 stars. So it's still, the series still has like 5-star potential for me for like more 5 stars or 4 stars. Yeah. And I see a lot of potential for the next book. I'm very interested. There's supposed to be,
No, I was going to say that last thing because I also want to talk about how you guys feel, or what were your thoughts about the bond of Poppy with the Wolven, like, and how everything changes for Castile. This,
I was sad for Castile and for
Kieran.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that was one of the things, though, that she did do a good job at hinting at throughout the series, because like even in the first book, I think Delano like thinks he hears her. Like there's been hints at that the entire time, and I feel like that was like something she knew was going to happen. That she did a great job. Yeah, exactly. So I was okay with that.
No, I loved it. I just felt a little bit sad at the beginning of the book when everyone is like bowing and then protecting Poppy, and Kaz is like, wait, you were my friend, like now.
And I almost like goes at him, like they almost go to
fight. They would have,
which was crazy. I thought that was one of the few, like that was one of the things that I felt a lot more positive about in this book. I thought that was done very well. I agree with you guys. The foreshadowing was done really well in that. I just wished that she had that same quality of foreshadowing with like some of the other things. That was done really well. And I liked it. I was sad for Kieran and Castile, but it seems like it hasn't messed up their relationship. And I liked how on board they both were with it, and how they were both like, both of their concentration is on like making sure Poppy is okay, and like they both put Poppy first, you know what I'm saying? And they both kind of underplayed the effect that had on them. In one sense, I would say if there was any issue I had with that, was that I thought that she could have developed more in terms of how that had affected them. I felt like it was a little bit ignored. Like Poppy asked Kieran like once, but I think that was actually about Castile being taken. So never mind. Like I felt like it wasn't discussed enough, like how they felt. But other than that, I thought it was really good.
Agreed. I loved it.
I'm looking at this comment. You're gonna miss stuff in A War of Two Queens if you don't read A Shadow in the Ember first. Like there's like a lot of like little things.
Yes.
The joining. See, everyone like is super. I mean, I don't care either way, but I'm not putting what's that called? Like a lot of hopes on it, whether or not it happens. Like I'm kind of like I could go either way. I'm like that'd be a cool scene, but I'm not like I'm not for or against. I guess I just like I'm like that with a lot of books. Like I don't put in expectations for them and then rate them based on like whether they met them or not, other than whether or not it was good. I don't know, but
that's why
I mean it'd be cool if the joining happens though, like totally. But if it doesn't, like, then I can see it not happening too, because I feel like I don't necessarily see that relationship with Kieran, but like they could have a good time together, you know, and that could be a fun scene to read.
I was very much in the same mindset as you about the joining, so I could care less if it happens or if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, same.
So, but I am very excited for the next book. I'm excited for the next two books. I'm really excited for Shadow in the Ember, and I'm really excited for the War of Two Queens. So I'm excited for where this is going. I knew that this was possibly going to be the worst book in the series for me, because I knew so many people viewed it that way. So I feel like I've gotten past the like thing.
The War of Two Queens is actually my least favorite in the series. But
oh, really?
Yes. Well, I want to spoil everything, but yes.
Yes.
Is it your least favorite, Teresa?
Yes.
Oh God.
No, but maybe you feel different.
Wait, what did you guys rate the last book again? I can't remember.
The second book?
Yeah.
I think I also rated it 3.5.
Yeah.
I think I rated it 4 the first time I read it, and I dropped it half a star into 3.5.
Yeah, I think I rated it 4, something like that. The first time everything was 5, and then War of Two Queens happened.
Yeah, and I think that was the same. I think I rated everything 5, and I got to War of Two Queens, and I was like, oh.
So either you guys are going to really improve your enjoyment of the War of Two Queens, and then I'm going to hate it, or I'm going to give it 5 stars and you guys are going to keep hating it, because I don't think we have really hit the same ratings yet. And we seem to like different things about the series and then dislike different things about the series, with some similarities. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
We're nervous now though.
I'm really excited to see how this goes. Like, definitely the first time that we read it, we really, really enjoy it. So I think there's a lot of stuff that you pick up the second time when you already know everything that happens and you're not all the time so busy trying to understand what is actually happening that you pay attention to other stuff, kind of like, or not that you didn't pay attention to that, but at least the second time I was like, oof, the pacing, oof, this character, this is more like I paid more attention to that.
And I feel like, Issa, you've never reread A War of Two Queens, right? Because we recapped this one. So like I knew this book very well because I did a recap video on it, but I haven't reread A Crown or The War of Two Queens. So that should be interesting.
Should be. And then that's going to be on whose channel? That's Issa. That's on, is that on?
A War of Two Queens is on my channel.
Yes.
It's on your channel. Okay.
Yes. A Shadow in the Ember is Issa.
Which is going to be the third time reading it. Honestly.
And the graphics and all the information with that will be out by next week. I do plan on doing that this weekend. So for all of you watching.
Okay, is there anything anyone wants to add, either in the comments or my lovely friends here?
No.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and close this out. We will see you guys again, obviously, on our channels with our upcoming content, and then of course next month when we discuss A Shadow in the Ember. I think that's gonna be the first Saturday.
I don't think we have it an actual yet, but we will figure it out, and I will have
Okay, so we will update you guys, but it's usually in the first half of the month. So we will update you guys, and we will see y'all soon.
Yay.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.